better on my screens. Is there a dark mode for this? Do you know?
I'm not exactly sure, bro. I'm
Because
not
it's like
exactly
there's a lot
sure.
of all the bright white background in the back is like messing with, like, you see it reflect in my glasses.
Dude, it's
I don't
fine,
know
bro.
how
I'm
to
telling
fix
you,
it, but
bro. You're fine, homie. I'm telling you, you're great, bro. But
let's get it.
guys, we are live, bro. So welcome back to No Filter MMA, guys. I'm coming to you guys with a little bit of a different speed here. We're not talking fights. We're not talking none of that. Um, my guy right here, my boy Tim, wanted to hit. He hit me up and asked me, could we come on and talk about what's going on in this world today, man. So as we can see, the title of the video is "What is happening in our world today? What is going on?" So me and Tim are here to talk about it, man, because I mean, somebody has to talk about it. Somebody realistic has to talk about the things that are going on right now, because the people who talk about it, they don't live the lives that we live. We're two ordinary people from a small town in North Carolina. So I mean, it is what it is. Me and Tim went to high school together. We experienced a lot of the same
Polk County,
people.
baby.
Oh yeah, so we experienced a lot of the same people. We experienced a lot of the same atmosphere. So I brought my boy Tim on here to do some talking. Tim, how you doing, man? Welcome to No Filter MMA for sure.
I'm doing good, man. It's a pleasure to be here, man. I like watching the show all the time, but
Thank you,
I
man.
don't
I
always
appreciate
have all
that.
the I don't always have the right information to I wouldn't want to come on and talk about MMA because you know a lot more about that than I do,
I mean,
but
well, this
man,
is No Filter MMA,
yeah.
so I mean, it is
But
what
yeah,
it is.
like you said, though, I mean, like, just a lot of current event, just a lot of stuff happening today in the news. This whole week, it's been rough, and like we talked about a little bit before we went live, just a little bit off camera when we were getting everything set up, about like what we like to see from people when we're looking for information. We want to see regular people talk about it. That's something that
Yeah.
that's made me want to do a podcast like this or start something like this.
Hmm.
Is just that I'm a regular guy like anybody else. You know, there's
Absolutely.
8 kids in my family, raised by a single mom. Like, I never had, you know, anything. I had what I needed to survive. You know what I mean? But it's
Right.
like,
Right.
so,
Our
and
parents made sure we lived. Our parents made sure we
that
were
was it.
we
You
were
just make
straight.
it to 18. That's it. That's all I got to do for you. Ain't nothing
So
wrong with
Tim,
that.
man,
We made it, but
no, nothing wrong with it at all, man. It humbles you. It humbles people like us, man. Like, when we navigate through this world, man, coming from a small town, you don't forget where you come from. And for me, the humble beginnings of my life, what I'm saying, my family life, it just humbles you, man, and um, it makes you make the best decisions
yeah,
in when you navigate through life. Just staying grounded and knowing those fundamental core values that our small town parents taught us, man, because that's all they had. So
yep,
for me, I always revert back or call and ask my mom or call and talk to my dad about, what I'm saying, things that I need advice on. So it's cool to see us two linking up and actually
yeah, for
talking
sure,
about what's going on the big scale. So go ahead, man. The floor is yours.
definitely.
This was your idea. The floor is yours. I'm here. I'm here to. I'm here to carry on the conversation, my friend.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were going back and forth on your post earlier on Facebook and
Hmm.
just talking about things, just trying to get the facts on information. I think that's another thing too that's made me want to do something like that, like a current events or like a political type thing, is because everybody has their own biases. And I mean, I'm sure me and you have our own biases. But I
Exactly.
mean, I think the more people that get out there and talk about it and spread the positive information about things, the better it gets for everybody. Like, so we were just talking about the shootings that happened at the riots and the shooting of the unarmed man who was shot 7 times in the back, Jacob Blake, and the things that have transpired since then. the riots, the burning things down. I mean, in my view, is like peaceful protests don't answer evil with evil, but at the same time, like I think I said it on there, it's like I don't know what I would do in that situation, man. If that was Little Polk County and I was there and I was 17 years old, I might do some stupid shit like that kid did. Or I might be on the other side of it. I might be the one trying to attack him. So it's like,
right.
It's crazy, man. It's just a lot going on.
It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So Tim, you know, let's kind of establish a timeline here. Let's talk. You know, we're going to go from the killing, I mean, not the killing, but the shooting of the gentleman 7 times in his back. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
You know, and what I don't understand, man, you know, this is one thing that I don't get. How is everyone not enraged about this situation? Like how what I don't get, man, is when you see these situations like Ahmaud Arbery, when you see this situations like Jacob Black, and you know, when you see all this stuff, Breonna Taylor, the girl who was killed while sleeping in her house, why is there a rebuttal to these type of topics?
I mean, hold on, I'm taking some notes because you touched on a lot of things there, and I just don't want to forget. But I mean, at least for me personally, I know the reason why I'm not, you know, immediately outraged for a lot of this when a lot of these things drop like this is because the media is so vicious right now, man. Both sides, all sides, all media, everywhere is so savage. Like they'll just put the first thing out there, whatever comes out and get some clicks, they'll put it out there, and they don't care what the ramifications are. They don't care if a city burns to the ground, just as long as they got their clicks. And it don't matter if the city burns to the ground, they're not going to come out later and say, "Oh, my bad. Like, we're going to pay for your city now." That's not going to happen. So right. One reason why, at least me personally, I would advocate for people not, you know, or to do what I do and maybe try to wait till things come out. But then again, like it's like I said earlier, it's like I don't know what I would do if that was my town, like if that was my next door neighbor, or that was happening in the street right across from me. So it's hard to put yourself in someone else's shoes in that regard. But that's
with that being said, Tim, you know, just that one statement that you just made, it's hard to put yourself in other people's shoes. And I understand, I get that 100%, and I preach that 100%, which is why I tell people all the time, you know, especially people who get mad at the statements that Black people make. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, let's just address the horse in the room here. You know, yeah. You know, the not the horse, the elephant. What the fuck am I talking about?
Well, it might be bigger than that, man.
It might be bigger than that, man. But when people tell Black people who are emotional and who are sad and who are feeling some type of way about the things that we see on television, when they try to tell us and people try to tell us, oh, you know, well, this shouldn't have happened, or they should have done this, or, you know what I'm saying, stuff like that. You know, I try to tell them, you guys don't know what it's like. You guys don't know what it's like to be in our shoes. And like me, I have a 5-year-old niece and a 11-year-old nephew. You know what I'm saying? Like this is what they have to see when my sister, their mom, turns on the television. Like, who wants something else?
That's something else that's nerve-wracking to me is that I imagine like his kids in that situation. Like, it don't matter if he had 3 guns in his hand. The fact of the matter is that he got shot and his kids were there and had to experience that. So no matter what you tell them now growing up, they have a stigmatism towards cops. That's going to make them more likely to be, you know, adverse when the cops pull them over. Or come at the cops some kind of sideways. So it's like, it just creates more hatred. It just creates more problem. I'm like,
PTSD.
something that I've
Those are
said.
children. Those are children. PTSD. You know.
Yeah, they just see.
I know. If I saw my dad get shot 7 times, you know what I'm saying, as a child, that shit would still be on me.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
And now you're going to associate that uniform, that man in uniform who's supposed to be there to protect and serve, who might not always be a bad guy, but in your head now that's the bad guy, and that's a problem for everybody, black or white. Like when you're killing somebody like that, and that's something too that something that people like to throw out the statistics, you know, and use the empirical data, but it's like regardless of it's not important about who's getting shot more. The problem is that there's a major flaw within the training. Like I agree wholeheartedly. Training reform, like this is MMA, no filter MMA. Train these people in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Like they need every cop should be like a purple belt. You should be able to subdue someone on the ground by yourself, or at least survive long enough so that an officer can come in and help you. If there's a 2-on-1 situation, that's my problem here too. You had 2 officers, because they show you a different view and they say like, this is another view. He was on the ground. He got up and he ran. He went to his car. He should have never got up off the ground. How do you have 2 people on the guy and he was able to get up and get away and go to his car?
Right.
Like no matter how you chop it up, that's a failure on the officers at the end of the day. Like, and I've seen people like Officer Tatum who want to throw around his like criminal background and stuff like that. And it still doesn't make it right for him to get shot. Like the stuff about the Breonna Taylor, I wrote that down because there's stuff that people are bringing up now. There was more stuff that came up in the case, but it just makes it even more tragic. It's like she was involved in a lot of things, a lot of drug trafficking, and then I guess the boyfriend, from what's the breaking news that has come out on that, is like when they came in the house, he fired at the officers, and then he basically had her like a shield and was shooting at the officers. So it's like she wasn't asleep, but it still doesn't mean, you know what I mean? It's like it's still not right. Like, why would you come in the middle of the night, in the dead dark of night? Anybody, white, black, or anybody in between, I'm going to come to the door with a gun.
Right.
I got a rifle in the room. I got a shotgun by the front door. Like, if you come knocking at 12 in the midnight, if it's dark outside, I might answer the door with a gun, or at least something close by. So it's like, I don't know, man. I just think that the way police are executing things right now are just making it worse. Like the way the criminal justice system itself is flawed, like higher up, and there needs to be legislation to change those things. And I think, and honestly, I don't think a lot of the shootings tend to be racist in nature, but I think it's a training problem. Like, I'm sure there's racist cops out there. There's no doubt in my mind, because there's racist people. Racist people exist. Unfortunately, exactly. People want to teach their children ignorance, but most of it, the worst part of the racism ends up being the judges. It ends up being the criminal system, the corrections officers, and that's where it's the worst, because then you have people staying in the system and they see everybody as racist. So even when they get out, that could be the nicest officer in the world that stops them, but they're going to scream bloody murder in his face. Like,
exactly. And Tim, I want to bring something up to you, man, and I want to hear your honest thoughts about it. One thing that really disturbs the Black community, I can tell you exactly one thing that just churns us on the inside, you know what I'm saying? And it makes us so angry, and people try to use it against us and make it, then all of a sudden things become a situational thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, but when you see videos of Black people, of white people, fighting the cops, like tussling and fighting and escaping and reaching for guns and doing all of the above in one video, you know what I'm saying? And that person ends up getting apprehended and taken to jail. it's stuff like that. Yeah, George Floyd had counterfeit money. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Ahmaud Arbery looks suspicious. You know what I'm saying? So what? These people did nothing of well, Ahmaud Arbery was
selling loose cigarettes to I can't Trevor Gardner.
Yeah,
like
yeah. But Ahmaud, like I said, Ahmaud Arbery was a little different. But when we see those videos, it's kind of like, well, what's the explanation now?
Yeah, I mean, I still think a lot of it tends to fall back on that lack of training, because like some of the that one I saw that one video that you just posted a little bit earlier where the dude was just squaring up with him. And to me, that guy just looks like he knows how to fight. He's comfortable. Clearly, I mean, he was rocking him. He pulled his shirt up over his head. The guy couldn't even see. He's flailing around. So it's like, I hope, you know what I mean? I hope he's not racist. But it's like, I think most of it does tend to end up being a lack of training for the most part. Sure, there's racist cops. But I mean, I think especially in a case like that, like clearly that dude just knows how to fight. He looks like he'd be comfortable. I'm sure it wouldn't matter for him. Like he's going to swing on you before he pulls his gun because he's comfortable on his feet and on the ground too. So it's like I think that's still.
We need more cops like that. We need more cops who are willing to do that.
Right, and that's what I mean. Like if everybody had the training, if you had the training background, everyone was a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu required. Now what's your excuse? You know what I mean? Now when you pull a weapon, we're all taught the same things. We all have a standard of what we all have to learn. You know how to use your body as a weapon or as a defense. You have your non-lethals. You have your pepper spray. You have your taser. Now what? So then if it happens,
let me insert this. Let me insert this real quick. Now, no matter what color you are, if you pull a weapon on the cops, they have all the right to use lethal force.
Yeah.
They have all rights whatsoever to use oh my gosh, hold on. Somebody's inboxing me. So yeah, if you go to arrest somebody and they pull a gun on you, a civilian pulls a gun on a cop, then you have all the rights to tase them, shoot them, whatever. They become a dangerous person at that point.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to insert that in there. That goes for any color. But go ahead with what you were saying, bro.
I was just saying, if you had that standard, of training set, then that's when you really start to weed out. You know what I mean? I think at the end of the day, it would help weed those people out. Why are you firing a weapon? When we pay, thousands of dollars to train all you guys in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Exactly.
Now why are you pulling your weapon? Why are you firing? Okay, but last week you arrested a white guy and you didn't have a problem. But then this week you arrested a black guy, you shot him twice. Like, now what's the excuse? So I think at the end of the day, it's still like, as much as we want to weed those people out, we do need more training. We need to reform our police. I don't necessarily agree with the whole like defund the police, but I agree. I think they should be audited severely. Like we need to know where every single penny's going. Like every penny needs to be accounted for. We don't need new police cruisers if we're having, people getting killed on the job and shit like that. Like we don't need more police cruisers if the ones we have are going to last us 10 more years. Like it always made me mad to see like our little town getting brand new police cruisers and shit like that. I'm like, there's nothing going on here, man. What's going on here? There's no drug.
I've made that.
They built that new jail. They built that big old jail there. What are y'all doing? Like
for what?
That's the kind of stuff.
For what?
For who?
Exactly.
What's going on?
Exactly.
There? Nothing.
The Polk County's jail worked just fine. It worked just fine, and it's worked just fine for all these years. What the fuck was the purpose of a new fucking state-of-the-art jail? It's a jail. Polk County, it's a fucking jail.
The one we had was fine. We only needed 4 cells. There wasn't nobody in there.
Exactly.
Like that's this that kills me. So it's like if we were severely because I think police have enough budget now, most of them. That's the thing too. It's like there is no federal standard for law enforcement across the board. Every state, for the most part, decides how much training they want to give, their officers. I think there is some degree, like if you're going to go out on the road, I think there is like a BLET required, but it's more of like an education. It's not like you have to go to classes, I think, and it's like an academy, but it's like, so everybody has somewhat of a standard, but that's like in class stuff. Like you sit down and take notes. And what I would say is some severe brainwashing to some degree, because they've been showing you videos from, 20, 30 years ago of people getting shot and killed. And when the reality of it is we're much safer today than we ever were. Like even all the crazy stuff that's happening today, when you compare it back, 10, even 20 years, even just as short as that span, a time span as that, we're much safer. But that only helps, prove the point of like, we this is senseless. Like there's something needs to be fixed. Like we've come so far. We're so advanced. We have this technology. We all have a voice now. We have people like me and you able to get our voices out, heard to however many hundreds or millions of people eventually. Like, so it's like, what are we doing? How is our core operating system so far behind? Like, that's what gets me.
Yeah,
like the criminal justice system, the law of the government.
I think it's it's a systematic thing, man. I think it's something that throughout the history of this country it's become the norm of how things operate. Who's in charge, how they think, this and that. It's a norm. Let's catch real quick. Let's catch some on these comments. John A says, I don't care how much they invest in training. If you have evil people with the wrong intentions on these police forces, this will continue to happen.
But that's
a very go ahead.
But that's exactly the point that I made. I made that I covered that point basically. Like if we set this bar of training higher, now when we have people that violate, other people's rights, and we've spent this time training, and we can look back at your history and see, oh, well, you were, you didn't shoot this guy, but you shot this guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we see your body camera footage. We see your car dash cam. Now we can say, you're charged, with something, or you're off the force at the very least. And that's the other thing too that gets me. Like, not to get off on a tangent, but when people get fired,
No Filter MMA is all about tangents, bro. Go ahead.
when someone violates the code or what the ethics and gets fired from a police force, they can just go to another police force in another state and get hired right back on. That's never made any sense to me either. And then to another degree too, to get even more off on a tangent, the problem is you have police unions in a lot of the bigger cities, especially, where they basically protect each other.
Exactly. Yes.
I've listened to some podcasts where you have some of these guys that were on the force, and even my uncle, he's a black police officer that was in I want to say it was in New York City at one point, and he can tell stories to the same degree of how like these guys would cover for each other. Like if you fucked something up, or if somebody was taking something off the top out of the evidence locker, whatever, what have you. You know what I mean? And maybe the rookie catches somebody. The old crew, the old boys are going to, stick together. Yeah. So it's like when somebody comes in there to file a complaint and ends up in the trash. Yes. So it's like, I think a lot of it has to do with that. The training is an issue. the police unions are an even bigger issue. And then even further up than that is the criminal justice and the lack of a federal standard for all officers.
I think what you're trying to say here, Tim, I think the basis of what you're trying to say here is if the police knew how to use their bodies to apprehend or detain someone, or if let's say, for instance, they were trained.
Even before that, de-escalation, man.
Exactly. De-escalation tactics.
Like, I feel like even like no matter who it was, if somebody got heated around me, I feel like I would be able to talk somebody down. Like Bruce Lee was one of those who was very what's up, mind illusion? Bruce Lee was one of those who was like, you got to be the master of word. You got to be the master of winning the fight before it ever even starts.
Exactly.
Like de-escalation. How can you not talk to someone? Like, how can you not understand that at the end of the day we both bleed red? Like, we're both Americans. And that's something that bothers me too, because I have family in law enforcement, I have family in military. My brothers served overseas, and both Aaron and Nathan have stories of where they were taking fire. When we're overseas, this is how the procedure works. You're under fire, somebody's shooting at you, you got to call it in. You can't fire back. You can't. You got to call it in to your next, NCO, whoever's over your sergeant of the platoon. Then they call it up higher. Then it goes up the chain of command, all the way up to the commander, and then it's got to come all the way back down. And then, okay, you can fire, or no, you can't fire. You gotta go back home. So it's like you can be sitting there taking fire, and your buddy's getting shot and blasted to pieces, and sitting there for an hour and 15 minutes, and you're not allowed to fire back. When you absolutely have the right to fire back.
Right.
And that's you versus another country. You versus the enemy, a clear and defined enemy with a weapon.
Yeah.
But we can just fire at will on our own citizens. That's always bothered me to some degree, especially knowing, like, hearing stories from my brothers. Like, I've never understood how we can justify, like, just shooting our citizens. Like, how can we not find a way to never do that? You know what I mean? Like,
I think, man, what I think it is, man, like you were saying, bro, if everyone was trained, then the first resort wouldn't be to draw the gun. I think that's what it is. Like, when these cops rely so much on the uniform, the badge, you know, us people seeing the gun, that when push comes to shove, the first thing that they go to is the gun. If these officers, let's say
it's insecurity.
Exactly. Let's say Congress took your idea, Tim. Let's say the Tim Tafoya Act has now been passed. You know,
maybe one day.
And all cops.
Now listen to this.
They all had to be a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Do you think that we would see less shootings?
I think so.
You think so? I think possibly too.
Because, like, there's a lot to be said with martial arts and teaching martial arts to kids and its effect on like killing bullies, essentially. Because, like, if you're going and doing that, not only are you experiencing, like, hey man, this is what it feels like to get my ass handed to me. Like, this is what it feels like to be in life or death. And that's something that, like, I've heard a lot of people who practice, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu frequently talk about. And I mean, I wrestled in high school, and I've just goofed around with friends doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and stuff like that. There's a friend of mine that I roll. Well, you might know Jesse Durham.
Yep.
Yeah. He's like I think he's a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I'll roll with him every once in a while if he's over there when I'm visiting Josh and them. Like, we'll just goof around on the floor. But, like, so I've never practiced, but I can totally understand. It's like they talk about how, like, every time you practice, like it's not the same as like striking practice, because it's like if you practice striking too much, you'll get concussions. Like you just can't. But it's like you can practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu every day and basically feel like you're gonna die. Like you could be put in the chokes where like someone could definitely end your life, like the rear get in the guillotine and stuff like that. Where, or even like those arm bars, you can feel the pressure on your joints, like
a twister, even a twister.
Yeah, like they could snap my arm off right now. Like, so it's like I think it gives you a better. It not only it builds your own self-confidence. Like now I know this. I have tools to defend myself, and I'm not afraid of anybody. Like, but then at the same time, it's like it teaches you like this is what it feels like to beat up on somebody. And I wouldn't want to abuse this, and just be beaten up on anybody. So it's like, and then like I was saying, I mean, I think it would set that standard. So then when people are shooting, you're like, why are you shooting? Like we all know, and I don't know if you know who Jocko Willink is. He's a former Navy SEAL. You know who he is?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Have you
He's on Joe Rogan all the time.
Yeah. Have you heard him? Have you heard his talk about, the law enforcement stuff and what he says about what is it, like 20% of the time spent on the job training or something like that?
Yep.
Where he mentions that at being a Navy SEAL, like that's the amount of time you have to spend. I think I thought about it this way, like at the very least, even if you're not physically training like every week, at the very least, you could treat it like a football team would, where you guys all sit together and you say, let's watch all the body cam footage we have from this week. And you could break it down like you're going over game footage.
What could we have done differently?
Yeah, like break it down, like watch each situation. And then that would help you weed out bad people itself too. Because then your superiors and all your peers are in the same room as you, watching you and how you handle an investigation or handle a stop or whatever, what have
accountability.
You. Yeah. And everyone would have to be held accountable. Exactly. Everyone would have to be held accountable. Everyone would be responsible for, you'd be watching each other's footage and say, how could we do better? Like, how can we help fix these? How could we handle this better? And I think that's part of the problem too. It's like, instead of saying, how could we do better? A lot of people just want to find a way to shove the blame off and be like, oh, well, he had a rap sheet, so that makes it okay. No, it doesn't make it okay, man.
No, it
because we have the tools, we have the knowledge, we have the technology. Like, there's just no excuse for us at this point. And that's I think that's what hurts my heart the most, seeing this violent, like evil answered with evil in any regard, or justifying it. Both sides, like somebody at a riot getting kicked to shit because they're wearing a Trump hat, or somebody getting shot 7 times in the back because two officers couldn't keep him on the ground.
Exactly.
So it's like on all sides, it's like everybody's wrong, man. We're too smart for this shit. Like, we're too advanced as a people. Like, we know we have too much information.
The thing is, Tim,
too many tools at hand. We should be better.
The thing is, bro, the thing is, there's so many underlying issues with the way this country. Let me put it like this: the foundation of this country is so fucked up. It's so fucked up. The foundation of where we are right now is so fucked up that anything else that we've tried to, that the United States has tried to put on top of that, to try to build on top of that.
I heard a good analogy for that, for exactly what you're describing recently. Also, I got a comment. Most people go in with the mindset of, I will have power over others. Yeah, I'm going to touch on that. Hold on. I could definitely touch on that. But
are you streaming live too, bro?
I am. Yeah, I'm on Twitch.
Okay.
But
go ahead, bro.
So exactly what you just described. So I heard like one of the best analogies I've ever heard for that. And they were talking about the policies and the legislation and how the law works. So it's like, think about, when you get a cut or I get a cut, whatever, like you put a Band-Aid on it, right? And then, maybe the next day or what, depending on let's say it's pretty bad. You got to change the bandage. So you got to take the Band-Aid off. You got to check it. You maybe got to clean it a little bit, put a little bit of ointment on it, put a Band-Aid back on. And you keep checking it. You keep taking it off. You clean it. You put a Band-Aid back on. You check it. You see if it's good. If it's healed, you might need to put the Band-Aid back on again. Eventually, you take the Band-Aid off completely, and the problem is fixed. But instead, what we do with our government, we just keep slapping Band-Aids on over and over and over. And then we just have this festering wound underneath. And the problem's never getting fixed. The wound is never healing. So we need to be taking off those bandages. We need to take off some of these regulations, some of these legislations that we've tried and that have not worked. How did it take so long to figure out that the 1994 crime bill was a piece of shit? You know what I mean? It's like we got so many examples of shit policy in our government that didn't work, and instead they just slap more legislation on top of it. And it's like you got to take it off. You got to see if the system works by itself. You might have to try a different Band-Aid. The cut might have got bigger. You might need a bigger Band-Aid. Then it heals up some. Then you can shrink it down a little bit. And we might not need all that extra, you know what I mean? So it's like, we can't just keep slapping legislation on top. I thought that was that's something that I heard recently that really stuck with me. It was, I feel like that was exactly what you were describing. Like,
I'm going to ask you a question, man, and I want you to give me your honest answer. I feel like so far you've been very honest, very, very honest. Do you think that we are headed toward a race war?
No.
You don't think so?
I think that there are people who would like to see that happen. I think there are definitely forces involved. And I'm not trying to sound like woo-woo conspiracy, but it's like it's clear as day, man. Like that it always happens around these kind of like, you'll see these like shifts in power, shifts in like political parties. And what happened, like Lincoln, it happened around Lincoln's time, and we had Civil War, and people are using the black and the minority vote to get ahead. And then it happens again around Kennedy. Kennedy was ready to destroy the CIA. Kennedy wanted to dissolve the CIA completely. He was tired of the secret societies. He had so many speeches where he talked about it, about dissolving the CIA and stopping the secret societies and basically being more transparent as a government. He got shot and killed for it. And the same time that was happening, you had Martin Luther King marching. And Martin Luther King could have potentially been the first black president. You know, I mean, he had so much power by the end of it. He has so much influence and leadership, and he got killed. So it's like, I think we see this happen a lot. When there's big changes in power, and I think there's a lot to be said with the Clintons and their involvement in the Democratic Party, and them potentially losing that control. If they lose this election, I think there could be a lot of Democrats that will not want to see the Clintons around the DNC anymore. And they've already sabotaged Bernie Sanders before that. And not to make this political party over political party, but I just think that's what I see. I think there's a dynamic in the power shifting right now in our government and in even the world's governments right now. You see Trump putting the pressure on China, and that's not me siding with anybody. That's just what's happening. You know, there's pressure being put on China. China was trying to put pressure on the Middle East. So Trump put pressure on China. China pulls out of the Middle East. We then come in and we make a peace deal with Israel, and Israel signs the first steps into a peace treaty with Saudi Arabia in 39 years or something crazy like that. Like talks of peace in the Middle East after how long? There's just a lot more going on, and I think a lot of this is just noise. You know what I mean? To keep us out of their business, and that's not. I'm not trying to sound like a conspiracy.
No. But a race war, putting a line between the races. What better distraction
Exactly.
than to what's going on, what's really going on? You know what I'm saying? Like, the question is but the question is, Tim, what is really going on?
If you can answer that, man, you better keep it a secret.
Yeah.
It'll come after you. No, I don't know. I mean, I really don't, but it's clear that something is, because this is a cycle that repeats itself. And the other thing is that really bothers me too is it's a cycle that repeats. There's a smaller cycle within that repeats itself every 4 years.
What's that?
That is the race baiting. The every 4 years you see this come out. Every time someone's running for election, it's what are we going to do for the minority? What are we going to do for the Mexicans? What are we going to do for the blacks? What are we going to do for the Asians? And it's like, it pisses me off. Like, I'm only half Mexican, but it's like, it pisses me off to know that somebody is abusing that power. Like, somebody's using that. You know, you can look it up on Google. You can just Google, just a simple Google search, like the New York Times word usage. Every 4 years, you can see it's like a wave. Like, you'll see racist, you'll see you'll see gay, you see LGBTQ, you see all that stuff. Like, I mean, there's something to be said right now. Something that I was just looking up that I kind of stumbled across. It was like, there was like an article that somebody wrote about how more gay people were now coming out and being conservative because they were no longer married to the Democratic Party because now gay marriage is legal. So it's like things like that. And I think that's important for everybody. Like, don't just be married to your party or your set of ideals because the color of your skin or your race or your background or whatever. Like, and just try to figure out what's going on. I mean, I would love to know what's going on to answer your question, or to not answer your question, because I really don't know.
To not answer your question.
Like, I can only guess, man. And my best guess is just that there is a power shift going on. I think I don't want to sound like a damn Trumper, because that dude goes against everything I stand for morally. But some of his policies have been pretty good.
Sense.
Some of them have been pretty good. Some of them
make sense. Yes, I absolutely agree. Some of them make sense.
And there's a lot of people going down with this Ghislaine Maxwell and all these unsealed documents coming out, all these damn pedophiles. Democrats are the majority. There's some Republicans on there too.
Whoa, hold on now. Hold on now, Tim. Hold on, Tim. Now, don't get my channel shut down. Don't get my channel shut down now.
Yeah, we can't.
Don't get my channel shut down.
I forgot it's not just me and you, but yeah, man. There's just a lot going on. Put it that way, and it's all speculation, man. I mean,
you know, you got to be careful what you say on YouTube.
I know,
YouTube will shut your ass down. Oh yeah, dude, for sure. That's why I got to get on Twitch and shit like that and Discord. So
Twitch will do it too, man.
Oh yeah, Discord one.
I upload my videos to YouTube after I do my stream on Twitch, but I mean, yeah, sometimes I have to edit things out. I forget which.
Absolutely. So
that's something that scares me too, or bothers me too. I'll write it down. I'll let you get your point, but
no, we're supposed to have freedom of speech, but yet our speech is being edited and audited constantly. If we have platforms like this where we speak out and, you know, we express our opinions, and there's an algorithm that monitors what is being talked about on every single outlet on YouTube and these streaming platforms and stuff like that. And they take away shit that you say. They shut you down for saying certain things. So it kind of makes you wonder, you know,
Yeah. What do you know about Section 230? Section 230 reform?
I'm here to learn. You tell me about Section 230. I don't know shit about Section 230. I'm an MMA podcaster.
Yeah, I know. Section 230 is like, and I'm gonna do a bad job of this, but because I'm still learning this stuff too. But Section 230 basically is like, so when let's say you're a newspaper, and you put if I say, BJ is a supporter of the KKK, Now, since I'm a newspaper, or not even, let's say I didn't write it, but I own the newspaper, and one of my writers put it out there, and I publish it. It gets past the editor and everything, and it goes out. Now you could sue me and be like, "Hey, dummy, I'm black.
Said this.
I'm not. I'm not a KKK supporter. You got to redact that, or I'm going to sue you." So now I have to redact it. I have to come out with a statement. I have to say, like, "I'm sorry, I beat you. I didn't know." Blah 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 blah.
Yep.
So that is classified. That's what a publisher is. And so since that's the case, since they're liable for everything they put out, they have the ability to ban people or to fire people and keep, basically have a biased opinion, keep things off their platform that could get them in trouble. If you're I think the other classification with Section 230 is like a platform, like a social media platform. So if you're that, it's basically supposed to be free speech all around, because you're operating under the premise that you're not liable directly for anything that you put out anymore.
Right.
But the users are. So if you say something sideways on YouTube, you can get banned, or you could get sued, is really how it's supposed to add up legally. You can get sued by whoever you said something about. And YouTube isn't liable. But they're acting as a publisher too, because they're banning people who maybe don't go with their ideals, or maybe say things that they don't line up with, or that they think is hate speech, or they think is, worthy of a ban. They can remove you like a publisher would. So it's like, I'm surprised there haven't been lawsuits against them already. And I think most of it is just because they're such a huge company. Who's going to take on Google? So
right.
But there are grounds for lawsuits already, because you can't, you got to either be a publisher or you got to be a platform. If you're a publisher, of course, you could shut all that stuff down. But if you're an open platform, it's supposed to be basically free speech.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of legal dancing going
loopholes
right now.
Loopholes.
Yeah.
Yep. Smoke and mirrors, my friend. Smoke and mirrors. So Tim, so tell me, man. So I want to ask you this too. Where do you see? What's the solution, bro? What's the solution?
Man,
I know you don't have the answer.
Oh yeah.
You don't have the answer, but I want to know what Tim thinks is the solution.
I mean, I've said my piece as far as it pertains to that. As far as it pertains to the law enforcement, I mean, I think at the bare minimum, if I had a magic wand to wave over it and fix everything, it would be a federally mandated. Because at the end of the day, you're all a federal agent, man. Like, you're wearing a badge, you're holding a gun, and that there are laws that apply to a police officer. Where, like, if you're a police officer, license, whatever, like you could carry a gun like anywhere. Like, you can carry guns where you're not even supposed to be able to carry guns because you're a police officer. So to some degree, there's already some federal laws that apply. So there needs to be a federal standard of training for all the officers. If you're going to have officers carrying weapons across the country, potentially in places they're not even supposed to be carrying weapons off duty, then you absolutely have to have a federal issued mandatory bar for everybody to hit. And like I said, purple belt in jiu-jitsu, like Virginia jiu-jitsu, like blue belt. I don't know, whatever the second lowest is,
White
man.
Belt.
White belt, man. Just trying, man. I mean, so that would be my solution for law enforcement, because at least that would set a higher standard. So you would be able to vet a lot more people.
If you don't do this, you don't get in. Like, if you don't accomplish this step, if you don't earn whatever belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and actively train, like they should make.
And that's the key thing. Actively train.
Right.
Yeah. So and that too, like Jocko Willink talks about how he had like implementing that 20% of your time on the job spent training or whatever it is. That absolutely, because when you're carrying a lethal weapon, man, like you cannot stop training. It's like the same thing as like when you're in the MMA. Like you got to think about like how much is someone in the MMA train? And now I get it. These guys are training to fight the most badass dudes on the planet and females on the planet. But it's the same standard to some degree. Like you could potentially end up facing the most badass thug out there, the most badass criminal on the street. You could have to fight him. So you have to be training like you're going to go up against someone who is also trained or could potentially be trained. You know what I mean? Right. So someone who's not just going to say, okay, and lay down on the ground. And you have to be ready for that. So there's that. And then, I mean, absolutely, I don't know how I would fix the racism that happens in our government. I mean, within the judicial system and the corrections facilities. I mean, my ignorant answer would just be get them all out, man. Get new, fresh minds in there in the Congress, new people in the government all around, man. Term limits for everybody. I mean, and that's like that could be a whole nother, topic of conversation. But I mean, the fact that the president serves 8 years in government and you got these people in there for 60 years, there's something to be said there. I mean, it's like
there's a lot to be said there, Tim.
That's my short answer of
so
what
Tim, so I got another question for you, Tim. Being you and your siblings, I went to school with you and a bunch of your siblings, and being people of color. How does it feel seeing the minority being stepped on the way that the minority gets stepped on? And that goes for all minority.
I mean, it's depressing, man. Honestly, it's disheartening. I mean, that's part of why I wanted to come on and talk about it. I was like, man, I just got to let it to get off my chest. I was trying to get my brother to come on the podcast or just to do like an impromptu podcast and just talk about it. But he was busy. So it's like, I mean, it sucks, man. And I mean, I hate just like you, I'm sure get upset, hearing everybody talk about, have their opinions, like you said earlier, about how white people have their opinions on, what black people should do in a certain situation. I mean, I've had a similar situation as far as like when everybody was talking about the immigrants situation and the refugees and all that shit. And 98% of the people talking about this on TV, all the people they're interviewing, all the people posting on social media are white as hell. And I'm like, I'm only half, man. But I mean, can y'all shut the hell up? Like,
how can you get a serious answer? How can you get a clear answer?
Yeah, like this isn't even your business, man. Like, and I do, for the most part, I do agree with immigration. I do agree with border control to some degree. Like, I do think that people should have to come here legally. That doesn't mean I hate my own race.
That's anywhere, though. That's anywhere.
It's anywhere, man. It's like, but to hear everybody that's talking about it is 98% white. I'm like, what are y'all? Why are y'all even speaking on it? And that's the same to some degree. It's like, I would say I'm pro-life, but at the end of the day, I still don't really think that's my area. I think that's something that women need to figure out for themselves before we invite men to be a part of that dialogue. So, and it's the same thing with that's why I feel that, and that's another reason. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier about when you said like how what my take is whenever this stuff drops and you hear news about this stuff, and so my take is to kind of like lay low until I get more information. But then part of that also is I don't feel like it's my battle to some degree, because this is something that's happening within the black culture. So it's like, do I support, reform and restructuring and improvement? Hell yeah. But am I going to get out there and yell at people about it and make people try to put up a fist? And you see those clips on Twitter where there's like 90 white people around another white person screaming at them that they need to put up their fist in support of Black Lives Matter. I'm like, what the hell's going on here, man?
Yeah, well, like that's a shit show.
Like
That's a shit show.
This is just y'all. And honestly, I don't know how you feel about it. This is how I personally feel about it. I think a lot of those people there are closeted racists because y'all feel guilty, and so y'all got to come out and really show how much you support, man. I really support y'all, man. Hey, just don't take
So
me
true,
first,
bro.
man. I really support, man. Like,
so
that
true, bro.
speaks volumes to me too. I'm like, what do y'all really like? What's the goal here? Like,
What's the intentions?
yeah, like why do you feel so, like? And I'm sure it's not everybody, because I mean, I feel strongly. Like I said, it really weighs on me. That's a part of the reason why I was like, we just got to talk. So it's like,
yeah.
So I can understand that not everybody, but yeah, man.
And I agree with, you know, one thing I really push is if you have a platform like this right here, Tim, is healthy conversation. This is healthy, pure conversation, man. And I agree with, I really push people to use their platforms to speak out and do something and try to get a message out. And I'm gonna bring this up, and people are gonna be like, BJ, what the fuck are you talking about? You know, like, what the fuck are you talking about? But I'm gonna say a name, and I'm gonna say it, and it's Kim Kardashian. You know what I'm saying? Like, Kim Kardashian is, I mean, I applaud Kim Kardashian, and the reason I applaud Kim Kardashian, you can say what you want to say about Kim Kardashian.
Can't speak on that. I don't even know what she's been doing.
She did the prison reform thing, you know, getting people out of prison for stuff that they, you know, people who've been in prison for 13 or 14 years for minor drug charges.
I think I did hear about something.
Yeah, like Kim Kardashian going to the White House, you know, speaking on behalf of these people, getting people out of prison. You know what I'm saying? She is getting black people out of prison. Like, she's using her platform, and she's using her platform to do that, and her influence on the judicial system, with her father being one of the most well-known lawyers in America. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's just kind of a side point. If you have a platform, use that platform, get your message out there, because like I said, this right here, this is a healthy conversation, and I love it.
See, that's one thing that I say that I was always like upset about Colin Kaepernick about, because I wasn't mad at him that he kneeled, but it was like, for me, I was like, look, man, like, you're a millionaire, you got the lights, the cameras are always on you. Why can't you just call? Like, if it was me, I'd be like, yo, let's call a press conference. Let's make a movie. Like, let's make,
it would have been even worse.
It
would have been even worse.
No. I would
you don't think so?
No, because me personally, this would be my approach. Would just be like, let's make a movie, clear cut. Like, let's just get the message out there. Let's have a press conference, and let's just sit down for like an hour and a half and just tell them how we feel. Like, that's what I would have done.
The peaceful way.
Whatever, man. I mean, that's who I am at the end of the day. But I mean, and my only thing is, like, with this, like, me and somebody were just talking about this at work. I was like, because he was complaining about the kneeling in the football games and the kneeling at the basketball games. I was like, how about this? How about we say, fuck it, take the national anthem out completely, and we just play basketball and football? Because at the end of the day, that's what I'm coming to watch. When I sit down and I want to watch football, basketball, MMA, I am trying to forget about all that shit, man. I'm trying to get lost in the game. I'm trying to just relax, man. I'm trying. So I think honestly, I think that's why their message falls on deaf ears to some degree, because I think that that's how it starts. Like I can agree with that to some extent. Like, man, I just want to watch my game, man. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to think about all this shit, man. It's on
Yeah.
TV constantly. It's on the news constantly. It's everybody's talking about it. So it's like, and it's a free country, man. You can do whatever you want. At the end of the day, and that's why we're still the best country, man. Even with all the crazy shit that's going on here, everybody wants to say the damn coronavirus, this and that. We're still the best damn country in the world, and I'll die on that, post. But I mean, it's like, I wish we could just watch our sports, man. Like, but then again, I'm sure they would say, I wish we weren't getting killed. So it's like, well, who am I, to say?
And with the whole Kaepernick thing, man, it's like, as a black person, I 100,000% get why Colin Kaepernick did that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there could have been, black people, we're very emotional people. We're very emotional people. And, and when you're a race of people who have been through so much persecution, so much ridicule, so much, all the stuff that we've been through, you become emotional people like that. And there's so many other radical ways that Colin Kaepernick could have protested what he protested, but he chose just to kneel. And see, and Tim, I'm gonna say this.
No,
man,
see, and I'll give him credit. I'll give him credit because I didn't know when it all came out.
You didn't know what he was doing.
No, I didn't know that he had actually talked to a veteran and asked him, hey, what's the best way you think we could do this so that nobody is offended, because we are going to do it during the national anthem. And we still want to pay respects to our fallen soldiers and all that stuff. And the guy who gave him that advice to kneel was actually a veteran. But that was suppressed. And that's part of my what I said about, like, I just think a lot of this is just to be divisive, man, at the end of the day, because that information was out there, but it wasn't on the mainstream.
Right.
You had to go dig for it.
To hear that.
It was like on the mainstream, but it was like in the back section of like the page and shit. So it was like, and he had an interview. There was like video footage where he talked about it. So it was like, but you had to go dig for that. But you didn't have to dig for the outrage. The outrage, the racist, pigs, he put pigs on his socks.
America likes chaos, bro. America loves chaos. That's what America does.
Some individuals in America like the chaos. That's clear. I don't like that shit. You don't like that shit. You know what I mean? It's like I said, some individuals in America like chaos, clearly.
Right.
I don't like it. You don't like it. The people, I think, don't like it. But we fall for it, man. And that's the unfortunate part. And I think that's part of why, I want to do stuff like this. And I want to encourage like dialogue discussion between people, regardless of your opinions, man.
It's so important, Tim. It's if you would have asked me 10 years ago in high school, would we be sitting right here having this conversation? I would say hell no. Yeah. Well, actually 12 years ago for me. But God, I'm old, man.
I know, man.
God, man, I'm old. Jeez, we're full adults now, bro. Hi, background. How you doing?
That's Brittany.
Hi, Brittany. How you doing? I just feel like, man, dialogue is so healthy, man. Like just laying it down and just laying it out, bro. It's super important, and I think that's a huge gap. You can apply dialogue and conversation as a solution to so many problems, bro. So many problems, and people just refuse to do that.
And something I see happening, really something that's been happening since like the internet, since like YouTube and stuff. Like, I don't know if you can see, like, I couldn't necessarily see while it was happening, but looking back, like YouTube and Facebook came out when I was like in middle school.
Yeah.
So like, and then it would just like exploded. So like exponentially, we went from all the news was coming from cable television and they didn't have anybody to compete with except each other.
Yeah.
So generally, their stories kind of lined up. They overlapped on a lot of issues, and even politicians overlapped on a lot of issues. But then, YouTube and Facebook start taking ground at an exponential rate, and now I don't call them mainstream media anymore. I call it legacy media, because it's like the most views come from the internet. You got billions of people on the internet looking for stories. You got, the internet news articles, independent, fact checkers. You have, people like me and you on YouTube and on Facebook and Twitch and all these different social media platforms. So now these cable companies are just hanging on by a thread, man. And they're in such deep competition. They don't even care how crazy they look to each other anymore. You have the complete opposite ends of the spectrum on like Fox and CNN, and they don't care how crazy they look as long as it gets them views, man. They'll say whatever they need to say to survive.
And I think with that being said, man, I think they've lost a lot of credibility because now people don't even want to turn on the news. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't believe any of it.
Right? Yeah.
Either
like,
side.
Don't even care. We don't care about the news anymore. Like, because the news is so polarized. It's so polarized, bro, that they've lost so much. For me, CNN, all of them, they've lost so much credibility, bro.
Well,
like it's just
and my point that I was trying to make was basically that as a result, people turn to social media, which is good to some degree, and they start, communicate. But then you have social media platforms that are actively, encouraging certain ideals and not others. And then at the same time, you have the ability to block and remove and delete people. So now you have just a further divide. So there's this chasm in the middle where I think I fall for the most part. I'm part of that silent majority that's in the center, that I see this side here and I see that side here. And I might lean a little one way or the other, but it's like, for the most part, I just don't like seeing the divide, like the chasm in the middle, the no man's land that's created when you have both these sides slowly spread further and further apart. And you have, a chain of news, sources, it starts with like CNN or something like that, but you have all these people only follow each other. So then, BJ says, oh, Biden's doing bad in the polls, and I follow BJ. So then I say, oh, Biden's doing bad in the polls. And then, so-and-so follows me. So they say Biden's doing bad in the polls, when really, you could have just made it up, or whoever posted it that you follow could have made it up. So it was like,
and it's hard to know, and it's hard to go find the truth.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like, it's
a
hard
double-edged sword.
Find the truth. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, bro. And it puts you between a rock and a hard place. And that's why I encourage people to. Because I apply this to, dude. Listen, when it comes to MMA, bro, I'm so polarized. Like, I'm not polarized, but I'm so opinionated. You know what I'm saying? But how I come up with my opinions is, what I'm saying, I don't go into, okay, like, let's say there's an undercard, like the prelims, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I see a bunch of names that I don't recognize. I don't go do research on these fighters. Yeah. Like, I don't go look up their previous fights outside of the UFC or outside of Bellator or wherever they're fighting at. I don't go look at their previous fights. I've never heard of them. I watch them fight, and I make my own opinions about this fighter, person as a fighter. Like, I come up with my own opinion about this person versus the majority of the MMA community. They go watch what this person said about this fighter, or this person said this person, and they come into it with preconceived notions, and they already judge these fighters based on what they heard someone say.
Yeah,
I think it's the same about how this, the things that we were just talking about. You have to make your own assumptions, because the truth is, you ain't gonna find the truth nowadays, bro. It's hard to find the truth nowadays with the way, as radical as this world is now, And now that we have things like smartphones and way to record shit and document shit, screenshot shit, you know what I'm saying? You don't know what's true, edit shit, Photoshop shit. You never know what you're gonna fucking see.
Yeah.
So for me, what I do is I go in with a clean slate, bro, and I build my own truth. I build my own truth.
You have to.
You know, that's all you can do nowadays is just rely on yourself and what you believe and what you think.
Yeah.
Because everybody else is gonna lie to you, bro.
Yeah. Well, I think part of what you said it rings true for all of it is like you just have to just observe, you know, everything
exactly,
and then make a conclusion based on that.
Ugh.
You can't come into it with your version of the truth and then find your way to proving that truth. You have to look at everything that's going on and then come to a conclusion and try to deduct what's really going on from everything you're observing.
Bro,
you can't come in with a preconceived notion and say, this is my truth and this is how I'm going to prove it. You can't, because then you're only going to find the ways to prove your truth. You just have to look at everything that's going on and deduct, you know, from that what's really going on. So,
and that leads me to this point, Tim. This is my last point, and we're gonna wrap this thing up. You know, for me, it's like, you know, when you come in with preconceived notions, you have to, you know, don't speak on something if you don't know the history behind something. Like, okay, let's say for instance, Chinese people were coming out and saying, you know, this, that we were done like this, and that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go research. Like, I'm going to go see why these Chinese people are saying what they're saying and why they feel the way they feel. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't tell a Chinese person to feel how they should feel. You know what I'm saying? So when you see these comments when you see, you know, these people coming on talking about, well, black people this, well, black people that, well, black people this. One thing that people have forgotten, man, we haven't forgotten. They tell us to forget. You know what I'm saying? But don't forget. What we don't forget is how we got here. You know what I'm saying? I know that's kind of cliche. You know, it's a cliche statement and whatnot, but
I mean, it's part of your history, so it's like you can't
exactly. You can't just
and there's not anything wrong with, like, I mean, it's like it's like the Germans, man. I mean, it's like they don't want to forget that they were ever Nazis. You know what I mean? It's like they don't want to encourage people to do that again, but they don't want to forget it either, because then it will happen. Then it has more of a possibility to happen again. And it's like that's something that, I mean, maybe this is just completely off tangent to some degree, but it's like that's what's important about all of this is documentation and teaching it in the history. And it's like we need to make sure that we understand. That's part of that does scare me, because you asked me, like, you know, do I think we're headed towards a race war? And I really don't think so. I think people like me and you, and there's a lot more than just us that are out there doing this and that are just talking to each other, even with differing opinions, because they're not showing people do it on TV right now. The cable news, the major news outlets, they don't want what we're doing right now. They don't want to show that the normal citizens get along with each other, even with differing opinions or whatever, like that people just want to have a conversation. So, but I didn't write down my point that I was getting to, but I got a little off tangent there. But I mean, I forgot what I said to begin this, man.
Oh, it happens.
Dang, man. It was ending good, though.
You were talking about the race war.
Yeah, but before that,
I was saying something about how can't forget where we come from. You were saying that Nazis.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and that's to be said about humans in general, about not forgetting, you know, Hitler or something like that. Like, there's a lot of parallels to where we're at right now, and the movement was, and I think a lot of it is Antifa infecting, Black Lives Matter and things like that is stirring up, causing this violence. Because a lot of the violence that I do see comes from more white people that are in these protests. And that's bad. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't matter who's throwing the brick. It's going to get blamed on the black people. It's going to get blamed on Black Lives Matter. They want to put that BLM in front of every headline, throws a brick at a cop when really it could have just been, some white kid from Antifa. And Antifa has found a way to kind of snake their way into this. And Antifa was deemed a terrorist organization. And it's like a lot of the things that their approach to things is extremely similar. They want to silence, they're against free speech. They want to make hate speech a crime in the US. They want to push that. And some liberals and Democrats are supporting that right now. And that's part of the reason why they're not shutting a lot of this stuff down. They don't want to bring in the federal support to help some of this stuff. And it's unfortunate because a lot of this parallels the exact same way the Nazi party came into power in Germany. And people don't understand that those are all just humans, man. We're all just humans. It don't matter our skin color. We're just as vulnerable to manipulation as they were. You know what I mean? Especially now with how far, this internet that we have, our apps, our smartphones, we have this misconception that we're like on top of the world right now. But the reality is we're on dial-up. This is only the beginning of what is the potential to come. Like we're on the Telegram. We're on the damn beep, 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 beep. That's where we are with our internet right now. But we have this assumption that it's magnificent. It's almost fully formed. And the reality of it is we're in the baby steps, man. We're still in the learning phase of this. And its effect on us and our effect on it is to be seen. So we can't forget that we're all humans and we're all vulnerable to manipulation at the end of the day. And we have to keep talking to each other. We can't let, someone play a role in dividing us. Yeah. Media. And we have to just keep getting information out there. We have to keep talking to each other. We have to look up those channels that are shadow banned. You know what I mean? We have to look up each other's posts because I don't even see your posts all the time. You know what I mean? Like Facebook, active, they just show you what you react to the most. So if I react to something that you post on your page, that's like you said earlier, really was like, I hope he understands what's really going on because you said, I post something about racism, bam, 150 likes or comments. But I post, hey, I'm going to be, linking up with such and such to do my MMA podcast this week, 2 likes. So it's like Facebook is just going to push out what gets the clicks. And it's not necessarily somebody behind a computer pushing it. It's just how the algorithm is designed. It's just designed to get more attention. So whatever people are reacting to is what's going to get more clicks. So exactly. It's the same way we used to tell people like, well, don't give them any attention. Don't pay them any attention. We have to treat what we see on social media like a diet almost. Like we want to keep our sweets and sugars down to a minimum. Like we want to keep that
absolutely right, bro.
Down to a minimum, man. We have a mental diet and we have to watch what we watch and what we read and what we pay attention to and what we take in our brains. Yeah. So
dude, that is a fantastic point. That's a fantastic point, man. And I commend you for that point because man, you're good at this, man. That just flowed right off your tongue, man. That just came right out.
It's the beers, man. It's that perfect balance, man. It's just enough to get me talking, but not too many to make me slur. So,
yeah, man. And Tim, man, this has been.
I needed this, man. I needed to just drink a few beers and relax and talk to somebody.
Absolutely.
With a damn brain, you know what I mean, and somebody who can articulate to me. Because that's important for me too. It's like, I want to know what's going on I want to know your side. You know what I mean? Like, And that's part of the problem too. Like, how many black people have you seen interviewed at these things, at these protests?
Not a lot.
I can remember about 3, and all the
Yeah.
shit they had to say was negative, and they twisted it around to make it sound crazy. I haven't heard, and I think part of that has to do with, maybe I should look more into it, but the 12 pillars of Black Lives Matter or something like that. I think one of them is they don't want to talk to media. So, I mean, maybe that's part of the issue. Maybe that's why I'm not seeing it. But it's like,
well, I want to know how the
community feels about it. Like, I think that's important.
I can tell you, man, I can tell you a piece of it, man. And a huge piece of it is that black people are angry, man. And the reason that black people are so angry is, for one, that we're seeing this. We're seeing all this stuff happen. And for 2, black people are starting to learn life before slavery. What was life for black people like before slavery? You know what I'm saying? Because if you go to school, the first time you hear black people is slavery. You know, and my dad is pro-black. He's not anti-white, but he's pro-black. He's learned his history, and he taught us in our household. He verbalized it to us all the time. And when you actually learn the type of life that was being lived in Africa, you know what I'm saying, at that time, you know what I'm saying, like all of the great things, you know what I'm saying, that were going on, you know, and history has morphed and made it to where all that stuff is irrelevant. You know, they contribute the study of astronomy, they attribute it to Galileo. You know, they attribute art and stuff to Picasso. They attribute that.
Well, it came from the Egyptians. We know that. Right. Well, anyone who puts in the right amount of research knows that. And Egyptians were black. Everyone was black. I mean,
why the fuck is that? Why the fuck is that a discussion, bro? Why the fuck is that a discussion?
Anyone who put some time into it will know. I mean,
some people don't even know. Some people don't even know Africa is that Egypt is in Africa. That's what's funny.
That's true.
Some people don't even know that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where the fuck do you think it's located?
I'll give them maybe the benefit of the doubt. It is pretty close to the Middle East, but it's part of the continent of Africa.
You know, the main continent of Africa.
Yeah, it's something that's crazy that I actually saw recently. Well, I don't know how old the article was, and I just skimmed it, but it was like some kind of group was actually trying to sue some countries in Africa for reparations. A black community movement was trying to sue because they were like, well, y'all sold us as slaves.
What the
fuck? To the Europeans, and so they were trying to make this lawsuit against some of these African countries for capturing them and selling. I was like, that's a stretch, man, but
that's a stretch.
I mean, it's what it is, but I mean, that's a stretch, man.
But yeah, man, I think, you know, that's part of the reason why a lot of black people are so angry. And then, you know, it kind of clicks and they're like, okay, well, because we're thinking in our brains.
I see you, my delusion.
As advanced as we were, where would we be now? Where would we be now?
Dude,
you know what I'm saying?
You'd like to look up, there's these 2 guys, Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson.
Boy.
Do you know who that is? Do you know those guys?
Amazing.
You know who they are?
Are amazing. They're amazing.
Crazy, man.
Is it not crazy the stuff they talk about the comets and the asteroids hitting the Earth, and that's what changed, you know, a lot of the stuff, you know, you know, the history of this planet. You know what I'm saying? And they 100%, you know, when it comes to history,
I believe
go-to guys.
I believe most of what they talk about.
Me too, bro. Absolutely. I believe all of what they say.
Yeah, I mean,
because that's tangible shit. That's
mind delusion. It touched on that. You said something about, well, then all of a sudden pyramids were built by aliens. No other culture could be so advanced to build those monuments. I mean, it's clear that there was something ahead of its time there. I mean, because, you know, you look at stuff like that. That's always been strange to me. Like, you look at stuff like that and you're like, we're supposed to get better. We look back and we see the landline, we see, dial-up internet, and now look at where we are now. We build on what we've had previously. So if we were building pyramids, what the hell are we doing now? Because our skyscrapers, our bridges, they're shit, man. We just got to maintain them every damn how many years? Like, you know how many millions and billions of dollars you spent maintaining bridges in this country? Like,
oh yes,
our architecture is not what it was. So
nope.
There's something to be said. Something was going on there. Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson, they're on to something, man. I'm glad you know about that stuff, man.
I love those guys.
Dude, I just went through a binge watch recently, and I listened to all their stuff all the way back through again. And that debate they had with that guy who was trying to debunk a lot of their stuff. Did you see that one? It was Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock, and then that other dude. I don't even remember his name because he wasn't shit.
Yeah,
and then Joe Rogan. He had about 4 things to say. He came in gassed up, man. And then it was like once they started laying the stuff out on the table, he was just kind of like.
Was it one of Joe's friends?
It was. I mean, all of them are Joe's friends, but it was like a guy that had basically had some negative things to say or some debunking he tried to do on Graham Hancock and his stories. They came on separately.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, they came on separately at first.
Idiot.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't like an idiot. It was like a guy who owns a newspaper or something like that.
Okay, that's not who I'm thinking about.
Yeah, no, he like owns some kind of platform, but the people he had he's like the editor in chief, and so people were writing these articles. And he basically wasn't doing his job as like editor in chief and fact checking this stuff, and he was just letting it be published. And then they were calling him out on it. It was pretty funny, man. You got to look it up if you haven't seen that one. It's like it's almost like a debate. It's not really a debate, but it's just kind of like they lay out their side, and the other dude tries to lay out his side, and then they take a video call from I think one guy or maybe 2 guys that are on the other guy's side because they don't want it to be like. Unfair because they brought
was the guy that
cool.
the opposite guy. He was an older gentleman with white hair. Is that right?
Maybe I'd have to look it up, man.
I think I've seen that. But yeah, man, if you guys hadn't looked into to those guys, man,
Graham Hancock,
and Randall Carlson, man.
Michael Shermer, that's who it was. Yes, Mind Delusion.
That's who
Michael
it was,
Shermer.
Bro.
Yeah, he was a scoundrel. I think he's just ignorant.
When I first listened to one of their podcasts by Joe Rogan exposed me to them, and when they were, breaking down the Younger Dryas crater impacts and showing evidence of
Randall Carlson, that mug, bro, he'll be like, Jamie, pull up slide 1762. And you're like, good Lord, man, this guy brought 2,000 slides with him, man. Like, how are you even going to try to come at that, man? Like, bro. Like, God dang, man.
Dude, but that's what I like, man. I like tangible shit. I like tangible shit that you can see. And when he was showing the landscape of, different places on Earth that showed evidence of catastrophic flows of water that had no choice but to be caused by meteorites and shit like that. That shit is tangible shit, bro. I like tangible shit. I don't like fairy tales, bro. I don't fuck with fairy tales, bro. But listen, man, we're gonna close this thing out. The old lady wants you to come to bed.
One night to stream, so we can go along for a little bit longer if you want.
Yeah, I gotta get off here, bro. But give your close thoughts, Tim. Listen, man, this was your first time here, but it for damn sure is not your last time, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to come on and give my 2 cents for what it's worth, but maybe not even worth that. But I like to talk about MMA, but I only know about a few guys anyway. So, but I mean. For sure, I'm definitely willing to come back on. I'd like to do more of this, man. Every once in a while, just talk about current events and just get shit off our chest a little bit, man.
Man, we can come on and talk about religion, which we could tie that, dude. If we came on and talked about religion It can
I'd be
top
down
that
for
whole
that.
Randall Carlson shit.
Oh,
All
I'm
that
down
shit
for
can
that.
get oh, bro,
Look out for episode 2, guys.
dude, we can go down a deep ass rabbit hole, bro.
Mind Delusion says yes, please, more of this. You did say I didn't get to Mind Delusion had one thing. Maybe I want to touch on this just because I
go ahead.
We kind of got past it. I do want to shout him out. He touched on something about the people who come into jobs with the mindset of I'll have power over other people, which I mean definitely is true. When it comes to police, me and you, I know you probably know the same people that I know who we graduated with that became officers of the law. Boy.
We better be quiet on that, boy.
And in high school, I say you ain't shit. You know what I mean? And you go looking for a reason to be something. And it's like, I'm not mad at you for wanting to be somebody, but it's like the way you go about it, you know, that's where it gets.
You ain't, and you still ain't shit.
You still ain't
I'm gonna put it like that. I'm gonna put it like that.
He put a quote from Daryl Davis. Actually, you know who Daryl Davis is?
I do not.
Bro, Daryl Davis, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. It's the guy who turned a bunch of Klans members out. He's a black guy.
Oh, the black guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and he wanted to. At first, it just started out as I'm just gonna go meet with these guys. I just want to know what it's like to be at one. So at first, he just went to one, and I think he was undercover when he went the first time. Maybe he wasn't, but basically after that first meeting, he basically changed one of the guys. He stayed in touch with him.
He changed,
and then eventually
the big guy.
Eventually the guy changed his mind. He was like, black people aren't inferior. They're just people like us. And he just didn't know he was fucking brainwashed, man. His parents told him, and then his parents told him. So, but this guy ends up turning out like 200 Klans members from the KKK. You know what's crazy now? In the midst of all this craziness, there are people from Antifa and even BLM that were calling him a white supremacist. Yeah. That's crazy to me. What are you talking about? Like he's part of the reason why the KKK is dying. Like, thanks to him. You know what I mean? So it's like
they're reaching. They have nothing else to stand on, bro. So they reach.
But
dude, listen.
But then he said, he said a quote from him. It said, "Ignorance breeds fear. If you don't keep fear in check, that fear will breed hatred. If you don't keep hatred in check, it will breed destruction." And apparently, Daryl Davis. That's a quote from Daryl Davis. That's pretty good stuff.
That's pretty good stuff. And that's a whole nother video, bro.
Yeah,
that's a whole nother video.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is fun, man. I'll let you wrap it up. You let me have some closing thoughts. You say what you want to say, and let's get out of here, man.
Dude, this
is awesome.
This was way better than I expected it to be, man. This was fucking awesome. I feel like I can exhale a little bit because
you got some off your chest.
Exactly, bro. We got it off our chest.
Yeah.
So all my subscribers, the people in the comment section, they're happy that you came by, bro. And I'm sure the next time you come on, bro, they'll be right back here to listen to what you got to say. Before we go, give a shout out to your podcast, bro.
My channel on YouTube is American Nachos. Because I usually just stream video games. So that's on Twitch TV / American_Nacho. So you can find me. Usually I'm playing video games, but we do a weekly podcast every Saturday called Dreamcast, where we just shoot the breeze with some friends. We don't really talk about politics or nothing like that. We just bullshit. We talk about video games. We might talk about some aliens, whatever. So, but this has to happen again. We'll come up with a name, man. And
yes, sir.
Make this one of my newest additions. So we'll be doing this.
Absolutely. Let's do it, bro.
Once a week we can do it. That would be awesome.
I'm down. I'm totally down, bro. You just
can hash that out. Yeah, we can hash that out later.
Absolutely. Well, guys, listen, go over to American Nacho and subscribe to my boy Tim. If you're a gamer, if you're on that scene, even if you're fucking not, go subscribe to my boy. We're going to get up out of here tonight, y'all.
Y'all look
dude.
No filter MMA. Mind Delusion. Bodar, you guys are still in here. Mind Delusion MMA. Wait, what the fuck? My damn tongue's all messed up.
Beers, bro.
No Filter MMA. Yeah, now it's kicking in. No Filter MMA YouTube. Go check it out.
Yes, sir. We'll have to do this again, guys. Go subscribe to American Nacho. It's late over here on the East Coast, and we got to go to bed. So hit that, guys. If you haven't, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Give a shout out to my boy Tim, and we the fuck up out of here. Peace out.
Peace.